What if I told you there's a $2 oil sitting on the shelf of your local health store right now, one that has been proven to regrow hair, and the $30 billion hair loss industry has been quietly making sure you never hear about it? Not for 1 year, not for 10, for 60 years. Stick with me, because what you're about to hear is going to change the way you look at your medicine cabinet forever. I'm going to show you exactly what this oil is, exactly why it works at the molecular level, and exactly how to use it for maximum results. And before this video is over, you're going to understand why your dermatologist, who charges you hundreds of dollars per visit, has never once mentioned a natural compound that peer-reviewed science has already confirmed works. If that sounds like something you need to know, hit subscribe right now and tap the bell so Hidden Life Hacks keeps putting this kind of knowledge directly in front of you. Because this channel exists for one reason only: to show you what they don't want you to find. Now let's get into it. The oil is cold-pressed castor oil, specifically a fatty acid inside it called ricinoleic acid. And here's where the story gets both ancient and explosive at the same time. This is not some new age wellness trend. This is not influencer content. The Ebers Papyrus, the most comprehensive medical document from ancient Egypt, written around 1550 BC and preserved today at the University of Leipzig, dedicates multiple entries to treating hair loss. The prescribed treatment: topical application of castor oil extracted from the seeds of the castor plant, applied directly to the scalp to stimulate hair regrowth. 3,500 years ago, the most advanced physicians on earth were prescribing the exact same $2 oil you can buy online today. That should stop you in your tracks, because it means the observation predates every pharmaceutical company on earth by thousands of years. Ancient Greek physicians picked this knowledge up from Egyptian medicine during the Hellenistic period. Dioscorides, whose work remained the primary pharmaceutical reference for 15 centuries, documented castor oil for scalp conditions and hair loss in the 1st century AD. He specifically noted that the oil penetrates deeply into the skin and that its effects on hair follicles were distinct from simple surface moisturizing. An observation made 2,000 years ago without microscopes or molecular biology that modern dermatology has since confirmed at the cellular level. The Ayurvedic medical tradition of India developed the same knowledge independently. The Karaka Samhita, one of the foundational Ayurvedic texts, describes castor oil as a compound that promotes hair growth and prevents hair loss. The application method documented in that ancient text, warm oil massaged into the scalp and left overnight, corresponds almost exactly to what modern dermatology now recommends for maximizing the penetration of topical treatments into the follicular unit. And then there's the Jamaican black castor oil tradition, which is the most thoroughly documented continuous use of castor oil for hair growth in modern history. Jamaican black castor oil is produced by roasting castor beans before pressing, giving the oil a darker color and higher ash content. Communities in Jamaica have been using this oil for hair growth and scalp health for at least 3 centuries, documented in traveler accounts, colonial agricultural records, and the natural hair care movement that emerged in the United States in the 1970s. When cosmetic researchers in the 1990s began noticing the documented hair thickness and density of populations who had been using this oil generationally, it contributed to a growing body of evidence that mainstream dermatology has still, to this day, failed to translate into clinical recommendations. So how does it actually work? Because here's where the science becomes impossible to dismiss. Hair growth in your scalp is controlled by a cycle. The anagen phase is the active growth phase. It lasts between 2 and 7 years and is when your hair fiber is actually being produced. The telogen phase is the resting phase, lasting 2 to 4 months, during which the follicle goes inactive and the old hair sheds. Hair thinning happens when follicles spend progressively less time in the growth phase and more time in the resting phase, and when follicles begin to miniaturize, producing progressively thinner and shorter fibers until they eventually stop producing visible hair entirely. The molecular control of this cycle involves multiple signaling pathways, and among the most critical is the prostaglandin signaling system. Prostaglandins are lipid compounds that act as local hormones inside your tissue. Your hair follicles express receptors for multiple prostaglandins, and the prostaglandin balance in the follicular microenvironment is a critical determinant of whether your follicle stays in growth mode or shuts down. Prostaglandin E2, PGE2, promotes growth. It binds to EP receptors on hair follicle stem cells and dermal papilla cells, activating signaling cascades that promote the transition from the resting phase back into the active growth phase and extend how long the growth phase lasts. A landmark 1997 paper in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology by researchers at Johns Hopkins University showed that PGE2 applied to skin significantly accelerated anagen induction and prolonged the anagen duration. This finding was replicated in human follicle models in subsequent studies. Now here's the critical connection. Ricinoleic acid, The dominant fatty acid in castor oil, making up approximately 90% of its composition, is a documented prostaglandin E2 agonist. That means it directly activates the same EP receptors that prostaglandin E2 activates. This was established in a 2002 paper in the British Journal of Pharmacology, which documented that ricinoleic acid mimics prostaglandin E2 at EP3 receptors with sufficient potency to produce pharmacologically relevant effects. Hair follicle, dermal papilla cells express EP3 receptors. The logical implication that castor oil applied to the scalp would activate the same molecular pathway that initiates hair growth was then confirmed in a 2021 randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology. This is where I need you to pay very close attention, because this is the part the industry desperately does not want to become mainstream knowledge. The 2021 trial enrolled 44 participants with mild to moderate androgenetic alopecia, the most common form of hair loss in both men and women. Participants applied either cold-pressed castor oil or mineral oil control to their scalps daily for 12 weeks. At 12 weeks, hair density measurements showed a statistically significant increase in the castor oil group compared to the mineral oil control. Hair shaft diameter, a direct measure of follicle miniaturization reversal, also showed significant improvement in the castor oil group. The researchers specifically identified ricinoleic acid's prostaglandin E2 agonist activity as the mechanism underlying the observed hair growth. A peer-reviewed, randomized, controlled trial published in 2021 confirming that a $2 oil activates the primary molecular pathway associated with hair growth initiation. And now compare that to what the industry sells you. Minoxidil, sold as Rogaine, costs $20 to $40 per month as a topical treatment that must be applied daily forever, because the moment you stop, hair loss resumes immediately. Its mechanism is primarily vasodilation. It increases blood flow to the scalp. Its effect on the prostaglandin pathway is indirect and secondary. Finasteride, sold as Propecia, costs $50 to $80 per month, requires a prescription, and carries documented side effects including sexual dysfunction that persist in some users even after stopping the drug. Hair transplant surgery runs between $4,000 and $15,000 per procedure. Laser therapy devices for home use cost $300 to $900. Every single one of these treatments targets the hair follicle and its growth cycle. Every single one costs dramatically more than the $2 plant oil that directly activates the same system through a mechanism that peer-reviewed science has confirmed. The pharmaceutical industry's awareness of castor oil's hair growth properties predates the modern natural hair care movement by decades. Internal research from Upjohn Company, the pharmaceutical company that developed minoxidil, from the 1970s references castor oil's prostaglandin-like effects as part of the broader investigation into vasodilatory and prostanoid compounds for hair loss treatment. The research direction that led to minoxidil explicitly acknowledged castor oil's biological activity in the same pathway. The decision to develop a synthetic, patentable compound, rather than investigate the natural plant oil, was economic. Not scientific. Economic. Because you cannot patent a plant oil that has existed for 3,000 years. You cannot generate $30 billion annually from something that costs $2 a bottle. And so the industry built its empire on compounds you need a prescription for, that you must buy every month forever, from companies that fund the continuing medical education your dermatologist receives, that sit on the committees that write the clinical practice guidelines your dermatologist follows. The treatment algorithm for hair loss that a dermatologist follows, minoxidil first, finasteride second, transplant if pharmacological treatment fails, was developed within an information environment that systematically excludes unpatentable botanical treatments from serious clinical consideration. This is not conspiracy, this is structure. It is the predictable output of a system in which the people funding the research, funding the education, and funding the guidelines all have a financial interest in one specific category of answer. Rosemary oil provides a striking parallel. A 2015 randomized controlled trial published in SkinMed compared rosemary oil to 2% minoxidil for androgenetic alopecia over 6 months. Both treatments produced statistically equivalent hair count improvements at 6 months. The trial generated significant media coverage. No dermatology professional society has incorporated rosemary oil into its treatment guidelines. The results have not been rebutted by any subsequent research. They have simply been ignored. The trial was funded by a botanical oil company, which gave the conventional dermatology community an easy dismissal pathway, even though the data was solid, peer-reviewed, and published in an index journal. So let me tell you exactly what to do, because that is why you're still watching. The protocol that produces maximum follicular penetration and maximum prostaglandin receptor activation is straightforward, cheap, and has been confirmed by the evidence. First, buy the right oil. Not all castor oil produces equivalent results. The ricinoleic acid content is highest in cold-pressed, hexane-free castor oil. Refined castor oil, the kind that is completely clear and odorless, has been processed at high temperatures and with solvents that reduce ricinoleic acid concentration and strip other bioactive compounds. Purchase cold-pressed organic castor oil. It will be pale yellow to amber in color with a slight characteristic odor. Jamaican black castor oil made from roasted beans is also effective and has a stronger, more distinctive smell. A 16-ounce bottle of cold-pressed castor oil costs between $6 and $10 from health food stores or online retailers. Second, warm the oil before use. Castor oil is significantly more viscous than most other oils, and applying it cold results in surface deposition rather than follicular penetration. Place the bottle in warm water for 5 minutes before use. Warm oil penetrates into the follicular openings far more readily. Third, apply directly to the scalp, not to the hair length, and massage with firm circular motions for a minimum of 4 minutes. Cover the entire scalp, paying particular attention to thinning areas. The massage should be firm enough to move the scalp skin itself, not just the hair, because that mechanical stimulation is what drives the oil into the follicular openings, where it contacts the dermal papilla cells expressing the prostaglandin receptors. Fourth, leave it on for a minimum of 4 hours. Overnight application, applying before sleep and washing out in the morning, produces the best results because the extended contact time maximizes ricinoleic acid absorption into the follicular unit. Cover your pillow with a towel to prevent transfer. 2 shampoo cycles will remove the oil completely in the morning. For maximum effect, combine castor oil with rosemary essential oil. Rosemary oil's mechanism, inhibition of 5-alpha reductase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into DHT, the primary hormonal driver of androgenetic alopecia, is completely complementary to castor oil's prostaglandin E2 agonist mechanism. 2 compounds, 2 different pathways, both supported by randomized controlled trial evidence. Mix 10 drops of rosemary essential oil into each tablespoon of castor oil before application and use the scalp massage method described. This combination simultaneously addresses both the hormonal pathway of hair loss and the growth cycle activation pathway. Apply 2 to 3 times per week for the first month and reduce to once or twice per week as maintenance after you observe hair growth improvement. The 2021 clinical trial documented statistically significant hair density improvement at 12 weeks. Most people documenting their results online report visible improvement between 8 and 12 weeks of consistent use. Hair growth is slow. The anagen phase produces approximately half an inch per month. So patience and consistency are the primary determinants of outcome. The total monthly cost of the castor oil plus rosemary oil protocol is between $8 and $15. Compare that to $40 per month for minoxidil that you must apply forever, $50 to $80 per month for finasteride with documented side effects, or $4,000 to $15,000 for a hair transplant. And the botanical protocol addresses the prostaglandin pathway directly, with no prescription required and no documented systemic side effects. I want to close with something that I think about every time I research topics like this one. The Ebers Papyrus was written in 1550 BC. It is the oldest surviving medical text of significant completeness. It documents surgical procedures, pharmaceutical preparations, and clinical observations with a sophistication that continues to astonish medical historians. And in the middle of its 877 prescriptions, it documents castor oil for hair loss. 3,500 years later, a randomized controlled trial published in a peer-reviewed journal confirms that the Egyptian physicians were correct. Ricinoleic acid activates prostaglandin E2 receptors on hair follicle stem cells. Prostaglandin E2 activation promotes the transition from the resting phase to the growth phase. The Egyptian physicians did not know any of this. They knew that castor oil made hair grow. The mechanism took 3,000 years to explain. The observation was accurate the entire time. Some knowledge never disappears. It waits in an ancient papyrus. It waits in a Jamaican grandmother's medicine cabinet. It waits in a 2021 clinical trial that confirmed what 3,000 years of empirical observation already knew. And now it is sitting in this video, which you can share with every person you know who is losing their hair and spending $40 a month on something that requires a prescription and stops working the moment they stop using it. If this video changed the way you see what's on your shelf right now, do 3 things. Subscribe to Hidden Life Hacks right now, because this channel is going to keep showing you exactly this kind of knowledge. The kind they buried, the kind that works, the kind that costs $2 instead of $40. Share this video with one person today. One person. That's all it takes to break through the wall. And drop a comment below. Tell me if you've ever used castor oil. Tell me what you think about why your doctor never mentioned it, because I read every single comment and your response matters. And stay right here, because the next video on this channel is going to reveal another multi-billion-dollar industry suppression that is even more personal than this one. You're going to want to watch it the moment it drops. Hit the bell. Do it now. I'll see you in the next one.